all have been attracted by the title, I'm sure, and of the seminar, so that's one of the reasons you're here. And I think that you really need to plan ahead. And some of you are going to go, oh, another thing to plan ahead. But, you know, it really makes a big difference if you kind of set up a menu for the week. And a way I have found to help me with that is to use the flyers that the different supermarkets send you. How many of you get at least 1 or 2 flyers in the mail? What's on sale? But more importantly, I think I use it as a tool to give me ideas for different things. You say, oh gee, I haven't made pork chops in a while, that's a good idea. Or, oh, chicken breasts are on sale, I think I'll make something with those. So if you notice, if you are one of those people like me who really likes supermarkets, don't all stone me now, or who you know, likes, you know, is a real foodie kind of thing, you like to constantly try new things, and I know the prices, you know, everywhere, of course, because I have to buy not only for my family, but for these things, and I try to keep the prices down as much as I can. So I like to plan ahead and look at my flyers and see what's on sale wherever. And if something's on sale that I like, I stock up, and I know some of you may have very small apartment refrigerators, but say boneless chicken breasts, if they are, they don't take up much room. You buy them, clean them, and when I say clean them, rinse them off, take the little tendons or any little fat off, and just put them in a Ziploc freezer bag, and you can stack them in the freezer. They don't take up much room. And half the work is done if something's, to me, if it's prepared to that point. And then you can quickly either take it out in the morning, keep it in the refrigerator all day to defrost, or like with this meat, I took this meat out of the freezer yesterday, and by this morning it was defrosted in my refrigerator. So you can do that type of thing. And so then you're, as Rachel Ray says, good to go, you know. So so if you do things in stages, that helps. But I think looking at the flyers is good. Plus, you spend less time and less money once you're at the supermarket. And many of you, unlike me, hate going to the supermarket. And so this way, you know, if you have a list, you can stick to it. You don't spend as much money. You get in and out quickly. So I think that's helpful. The other thing is to have a stocked pantry, a well-stocked pantry. I have a friend who had taken lessons from me years ago and then became a good friend, and she'd call me up and say, okay, Elle, what are you making for dinner? And whatever I tell her, she said, you always have everything in the kitchen. Well, if you're going to cook, you do have to have some certain things, you know, on hand. Always good to have an extra can of tomatoes. You can use that for anything, you know, or some rice, or some tuna fish, or some beans. Here we're going to use beans, even though this is a boiler, we want it to get done, so we're just going to put these in. It will come to a boil soon. Getting back to our soup for a second. Oops. And this, as you can see, is again one meal. We're putting the spinach in now, and then we're going to add some basil and oregano, and we'll let that come to a boil, and then we'll add the tortellini. So it'll really be a wonderful, complete meal, and otherwise you can use it if you're serving an Italian meal. It's nice to have that as sort of an introduction. So, and of course, and now these, I want to tell you something about herbs and spices right now while I think of it. Does anyone know what the optimal shelf life is?
6 months.
6 months, yeah. You have a good memory, Diana. I must have said that last time. It's really important because you know, some people will have things on the shelves that they've had for 30 years, so it won't have any flavor. So I highly recommend that you go home and check your shelves, you know, because is anything it'll detract. And you can also, but instead of throwing out those little containers, you may want to save them. They're probably worth something nowadays. You know, everything on eBay, Craigslist, and whatever, you know, those old containers, old tins, they're probably worth something now. So. But in any case, so our soup is going, and then some peanuts. Is anybody here allergic to peanuts? Okay, great. Kept everything separate just in case. Couldn't do this in an elementary school these days. Even have peanut-free tables. And then instead of using raisins, I'm using craisins or dried cranberries. Gives it a nice color, and it's pretty. You can also, for the apples, you can feel free to substitute strawberries or blueberries. I've even done. It's really pretty, the blue and green, when those are in season. You can also add pecans or almonds or pine nuts, which it's always good to toast first. and that's what you put on it. So this is the dressing, and for those of you who are not familiar with chutney, this is the chutney I use. So I just brought the empty bottle so you can see it. This happens to be Major Gray's Cross and Block Blackwell. It can be another brand. But chutney is just a nice condiment that has mango in it and some sugar and different spices. And it's very, very tasty. And so this is something that's nice all year. Now remember I mentioned a few minutes ago these planovers. If you had leftover chicken, you could add it to this. So you could kind of extend your repertoire. You could add extra leftover chicken to it, or even some tuna, say canned tuna if you wanted, or shrimp, cooked shrimp. You could do that with most salads. So this is always a favorite. I served it just over the weekend, and people said, "Is this from one of your books?" I said, "Yes." They said, "What page?" Because sometimes I know the page. Very often I don't, but anyway. So we'll add more things as we, so I want to make sure that you get to taste everything. Boy, the tortellini, the orange is so bright. It looks so pretty, and with the red and green, it's like perfect harvest time. If you go tailgating, this is a nice recipe to take too.